My name is Russell Rakowski with Monroe County's Department of Environmental Services. I've been with the county since 1983, and sometimes I've been called the county historian on solid waste. Been involved with all these programs, and I continue to be involved with what you will see as the last slide of some of the initiatives that we are looking for here in the next year. First of all, the Department of Environmental Services is a department within the county that has approximately 300 plus employees. These are the various divisions that are in that group, but each one of these divisions is unique in some different way. One of the groups that you probably hear a lot about is Pure Waters, who handles our wastewater. That group handles not only the collection, but manages two large treatment plants, one in Irondequoit, the Frankie Van Laer, and also the Northwest Quadrant. And also over the years in my career, and then even earlier than my career, people had the foresight in the county, within the county, to establish this group to make sure that our wastewater was not ending up in streams, and there's been a tremendous amount of consolidation. I believe, at least in from my history, there has been at one time over 40 wastewater treatment plants in the county, and those slowly have come offline and are going into these other two larger plants right now. The most recent one was approximately just earlier this year was the Scottsville wastewater treatment plant, which we have now tied in with, eventually it ends up at our Van Laer treatment plant through our sewer system. So with that big group of employees at Pure Waters, you have solid waste, which is an entirely different group. You're looking at 2/3 of the staff here tonight. Pat Collins, our outreach coordinator, Tina Stevens, who does also a lot of work with the schools, and myself. But it's a different group in that all these programs that you see up here are managed really by outside contractors. Our resource recovery programs started out way before my time. I came on board at that time when it was envisioned by the Rochester Engineering Society, assisted the county in coming up with this program that would take all the garbage, put it together, and then separate it in this facility on Emerson Street and produce a refuse-derived fuel, pull out the glass, pull out the iron. There were a lot of technological challenges with that at the time, with the equipment that was taken from other industries like the auto shredding industry and others. In that, eventually, those operations were suspended and closed, and I'm going to talk about what we've done with that building since that time. Our recycling center is about 25 years old. And we've gone through some changes that I'm going to talk about that here. And our transfer station is now in that old resource recovery facility. And it's not only a transfer station to consolidate the garbage, to take it out to the landfills, but also to pull some of those materials out of the garbage before it gets to the landfills. Our newest program is our Eco Park, which I hope many of you have heard about. And actually, as I've been reviewing our update to our solid waste management plan, if I'm correct, its third anniversary was actually yesterday that it opened up. The Mill Seat Landfill is the last resort of disposing of the waste out in the town of Riga. And as part of that, I'm going to talk a little bit also about our waste to energy, our landfill gas energy facility that's within that landfill. This is the solid waste breakdown. It varies. Some of these percentages vary for a lot of different reasons, but a lot of it, believe it or not, happens to be the economy. In 2008, we saw just solid waste really drop off quite a bit. And obviously, construction and demolition would drop off because there wasn't a lot of construction going on. Next slide. So our recycling center. And when we say our recycling center, many times people associate this with our Blue Box program. Materials that are put in Monroe County Blue Boxes are delivered to this facility. We also do some commercial waste that Waste Management brings in there as well. Today it is operated by Waste Management of New York. Originally the first 10-year contract was RRT Empire Returns. The second contract was Cascades Recovery, and Waste Management is our current contractor that started probably around 19 months ago. We handle around 35,000 tons per year there, primarily from the City of Rochester and Waste Management that's collected here out in the suburbs. And the annual revenue to the county is really, the $250,000 is really a royalty fee of what comes in as far as the recyclables go. And that's money that we'll be using for our educational program. The materials are what you've seen over the years, and there have been some changes through the years. We started out, the all clean paper, we started out with just newspaper and corrugated. Since that time, we've added phone books, pizza boxes, and all mixed paper. The other thing that's changed has been metal. With the pots and pans, we added those about 4 years ago. And also plastics. The mainstay in the early program were the numbers 1 and 2s, and now we take all plastics 3 through 7. So one of the changes that actually started in the industry has been what's called single stream recycling. This facility, when it was constructed, had 2 streams. It had one for the newspaper and the corrugated, so basically anything that tears. And then the other stream was for the commingled containers. We would ask people in our brochures that if in your blue box that you would put your containers on the bottom, and that you would set your paper and your corrugated on the top, put something down obviously to keep it from blowing. The hauler would then come, take the paper out, put that in one compartment, put the containers in the other compartment. So it's dual stream because there were 2 mixes that were collected. Curbs, the resident was asked to separate it. The hauler collected it separately. When it arrived at our facility, it was dumped separately, and it went up 2 separate trains, 2 separate lines. Earlier this year, we added some equipment, some screening equipment on the front end that does away with that requirement of separating it into 2 streams. You can now mix everything together. That's what's known as single stream recycling. It has started in the industry at least 5 years ago, and there's a lot of advantages to it. It makes it easier for the homeowner, makes it easier for the hauler, but it gives the hauler more flexibility as far as their fleet goes. These compartmentalized trucks are no longer necessary. That's good. The downside of that, though, is by using a packer truck, we do receive phone calls that, oh, my hauler is trashing my recyclables. So there will need to be some signage and things identifying those trucks. So I talked about the collection, the recycling containers. This does produce more volume because it does make it easier. In some communities, they do use larger totes to just dump these materials in, and that gives them more storage capacity, and it also gives them the ability to maybe collect every other week collection. At this point, there isn't anybody in Monroe County that has said that they're going to do that. The City of Rochester is going to be starting a pilot program at looking at these different collection boxes, collection toters, collection containers, and equipment to evaluate what the future of their program will be. As far as what we're going to do, the county is we're going to communicate this change to people and what they and how they can prepare their materials by doing some bill stuffers. We've done some through the City of Rochester Water Bureau as well as the Monroe County Water Monroe County Water Authority, articles out to the counties and town, out to the town newsletters, as well as our suburban haulers. We did a survey, a residential survey, which I wish I would have put a slide in here, but I didn't. I apologize for that. But what it all boiled down to was simply people wanted to know exactly what they could recycle. So it's time for a booster shot. 25 years ago, we started out with that logo, "Don't trash our future," or slogan, "Don't trash our future, recycle." Well, we've added one word to it, recycle right, because that's what people want to know what to do. They just want clarification. They want to know what the right thing to do. And I think I covered everything there. And as far as what doesn't go, well, obviously garbage, sharps, because they're an issue. There are people. There's a mix of mechanical and manual sorting that goes on. So the concern for the worker safety as far as getting poked with a needle, household hazardous waste, cords, ropes, hoses. The reason that we don't want those in the program, and there was one of the slides up there that if you caught it early on, this change from the dual to the single stream, you can't even take a picture of this without it being blurred, because that's how fast this stuff is moving. And it can easily get tangled up in the screens, around the pulleys, and things like that, as you could see in that middle one. What I just discussed about the single stream conversion was a partnership between Monroe County and Waste Management. And what we've been able to do is each one of us brings certain things to the table and certain strengths. Now, in the case of Waste Management, their contribution to this project was retrofitting this facility at a cost of $3.8 million. It wasn't only just adding new equipment, it was really retooling some of the equipment and upgrading some of the equipment that has been used for 20 years. Our contribution, being the county, was that we were able to utilize some state funds. This baler on the right-hand side is an $800,000 piece of equipment. That's the center of the heart of the facility, and we were able to get matching funds through a state grant of $400,000 for that piece of equipment. The other thing that the county did was, because the facility was shut down for 10 weeks in February and March, was approximately a third of the concrete floor in the facility needed to be replaced. Areas were just worn down to the stone, and there's obviously no way that when you're tipping recyclables every day that you're going to be able to replace this floor easily. Recycling end markets. These are all the different markets in the uses where the materials go. I don't know if I'm going to run through all of them, but one of the questions that we frequently are asked is, this material goes down the street. Do you really recycle it? Well, the answer is yes. The pieces of the couple photos that you saw, in order to separate all of these materials, is at a cost to the operator of around $45 a ton. So that's their starting point, and through the blended revenues of all of these markets, they have to be able to pay their employees, keep the lights on, and also make a profit to stay in business. The one thing that's been a challenge over the years, the last item being glass. Today, there's a facility down in Victor that recently has closed. We continue to use that glass, the ground-up glass, for drainage material or alternate daily cover out at our landfill. We've also used it within some county projects, but one of the things that we have found is it's sort of like marbles. If you want to use this as a fill, you have to contain it. So where we've had old treatment plants with tanks. We've been able to fill those in and then build on top of them. As long as it's contained in some way, we're able to compact it, but just to lay it out loose, it kind of rolls around like marbles. Our resource recovery facility and transfer facility, I mentioned that earlier. We did remove the equipment that was there, but we put in some other equipment which is in this middle sort line there. And what that equipment has a lot of flexibility. It's like in a rectangle, and it has a number of chutes and conveyors underneath that different materials can be sorted. In this pile that you see on the left here is just a mix of commercial paper and plastics, corrugated that was probably picked up at a mall or some industries, and then has been utilized there, that or sorted in that middle line. That middle line has also been used, is also used seasonally for taking bagged leaves, slicing open the plastic bags, removing the plastic to get the leaves so that they can be hauled out to a compost facility. The other thing that we used that line for one time was when we did our waste audit as well. We'll move on. Okay, the Eco Park, which was our three-year anniversary this past Sunday. The facility is located at the southwest corner of the airport. It is the building that it is in is a transfer station that it was formerly operated, is owned, but formerly operated by Waste Management. And before we started the Eco Park there, we 5 years ago now, this will be our 5th season, there was an area to the north that we put down some road millings and leveled out, and we take 10,000 yards of the city of Rochester's leaves. We put them in windrows in the fall, and now last fall's leaves we just got done screening, and we end up with a nice compost. That picture that's in there, we actually have another state grant that we were able to buy another windrow turner that we now have. But going back to the Eco Park, we have regular collection hours Wednesday through Saturday, and then special collections. With the special collections, though, is what you've heard about over the years as our household hazardous waste facility. We started out that program probably 25 years ago with the first collection being in a City of Rochester maintenance garage, where in our first experience we had 1,200 cars that went through and realized that we needed a permanent facility. And we've been in several different places. This is our most recent one that is housed inside there. And also we have Clean Harbors is on site through a contract that handles all these materials for us. And these are all county employees that are working this. And then we also now have a pharmaceutical collection at this site, as well as we do some of these sites as well outside. Most recently we did one at Wegmans on Calkins Road last Saturday. We've had one over here at the Penfield Wegmans as well. And by the way, on the household hazardous waste, I think you folks are familiar. We take that out to the communities, and it goes back and forth between Penfield and Webster in this area. We try to combine some of the towns together. But going back, just going back to the pharmaceutical collection, we always have a county sheriff must have presence there because of the controlled substances. And Covanta Energy is a waste-to-energy plant in Niagara Falls that takes this material from the county. And okay, the next slide. Tony mentioned earlier that you folks are going to be having an e-scrap event. One of the things that's very unique about Monroe County is that we have a lot of places to take these materials. Maven, Sun King, which is out in Brockport, as well as Rochester, regional recycling down in Victor. So there are other places, plus our own, plus collection events that are held throughout the county. And it's really kind of surprising when you stand there to think, and for the number of years, that this much material can still continue to come in every day, including flat screens where the grandchild has taken the Wii and hit the screen, and some unfortunate grandfather had to go out and buy a new one. This is a list of all the materials, or you could see from this a list of all the materials that we take. In some of the, the mainstays of what we have in our curbside program are really there for convenience. But some of these bulky plastics and things like that would do in that earlier photo of the recycling center, which, we have size limitations and they would just jam up the equipment. This is an excellent outlet for that, as well as the scrap metal. And we do confidential shredding. We collect it here, but we don't do the shredding on site. That's done off-site at Cascades. Yes?
Question, there was sneaker recycling, that's all the time there?
Yes.
So years ago, we had the sneaker mobile came to the community center, and you put your sneakers in there, so we could put sneakers there anytime?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, and this is just 1 year of numbers of what we've been able to do through our household hazardous waste collections. But what's really impressive, and what I'm really proud of, is the last line there. I dare say you won't find any other community in New York that can show those numbers of households that have been served. So this program over the years speaks for itself and the success that it has been. The other thing that makes the Eco Park very unique is the combination of the household hazardous waste and the pharmaceuticals. To the best of our knowledge, it is the only one in the country. No one has challenged us yet on that statement. So moving on. Now, that being said, you have a facility, you're very proud of it, and then to make this statement, well, you know what? We really don't want people to come. That's what this Prospector site is all about. You're on the east side here. The Eco Park is on the west side. It's some distance to drive. We've developed this tool here on the web that you could go in and search for outlets for all of these materials. And we're going to try to, Pat's going to bring it up here and hopefully give you an example of how it works. Basically, what you do is you put in your category. There's a whole range of categories there, and then it'll give you an outlet. What are some other examples other than that you can?
This one here is wood, and people always want to know if they can bring their wood and lumber there and that kind of thing, and we can't take that at the Eco Park, but there are places like Greenovation that can take that kind of thing, so we want to make sure that we have a place for it. And people think you have to bring the electronic waste there, but there are literally 100 places in the county you can bring it that are closer than coming to here, depending on where you live, of course.
But this will get
that on computer. How do you find it?
Just go to monroecounty.gov/ecopark.
If you go to the town of Penfield website, there's a link
There's a
right
link
off.
to it.
Yeah, it's right there for you too.
Yes.
One of the previous charts was talking about tires, and it said that you took 678 tires. Was that tons, tires? And
Oh, at the Eco Park, it would have been individual tires.
but you probably don't take tires, do you? They just snuck in the
No,
678 tires isn't very many tires.
no, it isn't, and we charge for. Well, Waste Management charges for those.
Okay.
Yes.
So they got in there through Waste Management?
On the side, anything that has to do with a charge being Freon for the appliances and the waste tires is actually handled, managed by Waste Management because of the money that's involved. And it's all done with credit cards.
Same with the 707 CFC appliances.
Right.
Individual appliances.
Okay. We're up to this now? Okay. Is there anything else you want to add, Pat? Pat works, he's the boots on the ground at the Eco Park. He works there 1 day a week. Is there anything else you want to add? Go ahead.
I have a question. What happens to the medication?
It's ready.
It goes to this place, but then what do they do with it?
The medication goes to Cavanta. It's a waste-to-energy facility, so it gets incinerated, and the energy from that incineration process is recovered and put to use. So there's no reason to mark off your name on the prescription bottles or anything like that. It's all getting incinerated, so it's a fairly confidential process. It goes straight from you to the sheriff or the county staff and into a barrel, and the barrel gets taken up to Niagara Falls where it's incinerated.
The sheriff's station on Linden Avenue collects it.
Yep,
What?
1 day a month.
Yeah.
Yep. Town of Brighton Police Department accepts it every day, 8 to 4. So, and Town of Ogden Police Department does the same thing. So there's places around the county where you can have it done.
And where shouldn't we dump it?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is we don't want to see it in the recycling bin. People think we don't accept prescription bottles in the recycling bin either. People they don't rinse their peanut butter jars out, and they don't empty their medications out either. So people go down the street, see what people are taking, and people have been known to break into your house, depending on what you're on. And then also, we don't want it obviously going out to the waterways, where there's been many studies where that can be a problem.
I'm going to interrupt just a minute. We're taping this so that we can show it. So there's a couple of us with microphones who are going to run around, and if you have a question, we'd ask that you just speak into the mic, and we'll capture both the question and the answer.
But the prescription bottle has a number, and it's less than 7, so I've been putting it out there, and after I took the label off, and it's empty.
I mean, it's a number 5, but there's exceptions to everything that's recyclable. There's a list right there, and styrofoam is a number 6. We don't take that either. Plastic bags are a number 2 or a 4. We don't want to see them in the recycling bin. No matter what we have on that list, there's usually an exception to it for operational reasons or markets, health, public health or poisoning issues, that kind of thing.
Better apologize then.
No.
Yeah, we don't want the styrofoam egg carton, the styrofoam coffee cups, any of that kind of thing is a no-go. But a coffee lid that's a number 6 that isn't expanded and puffed out, that's fine. Any other questions?
Yeah, what about bottle caps?
Bottle caps, we used to want the bottle caps off the bottles. Rinse them out and keep the bottle caps off. But with the machinery we installed, it makes it difficult to capture the smaller things like that. So we want you to rinse them out and put the caps back on now. So that's all part of the education that we're going to be doing as time goes on.
If I have something big like a sofa, hide-a-bed, do I go through waste management and have them come and pick it up, pay them?
If it's in good shape and it's something that Greenovations can use, or Greenovation, you can do it that way, but the general way is to have a bulky pickup at your house. I mean, if you leave a couch out to the street, chances are it's going to stay there after the garbage guy goes by, because it's generally an upcharge to have something big and bulky picked up.
Our Monroe County.
Correct.
And Monroe County
I'm the blue-collar guy.
Monroe County has Pure Waters, the Water Authority. The Water Authority has a regular stream of dump trucks that come out to Watson-Halbert Road off of 441, and they're hauling out debris from when they work on digging out manholes, so forth and so on. Loads of mud and sludge and what have you, loads of dirt. And it seems as though they're taking it back in on Watson-Halbert Road, and that's a dump for that. Now, I may get it wrong, but I've seen hundreds and hundreds of trucks do this because I pass by it all the time. And it seemed as though that's something that should be in your bailiwick, because that is a stream.
We handle the dirty water. They
Well-
handle the clean water.
That's-
So
No,
we're
this
Pure
is the-
Waters.
this is the soil.
We're not Monroe County Water Authority. That's a whole separate organization.
But this is the soil, and they're dumping the soil out there. I'm wondering,
I don't know.
what is that site? Is that a Penfield issue?
Tony, I don't,
I can help. That particular site on Walton Harbor Road is owned by Monroe County Water Authority, which is a separate entity from the county of Monroe. They're an authority versus part of the county. And that's a piece of property that they've owned for a number of years. And at some point, maybe in our lifetime, we may see the newest reservoir in that area as part of their overall program. Having said that, part of that dumping that they're doing is anytime they dig a hole, they take the material out, they bring it out to that location. They have to put clean material back in that's not rocky or concrete or things like that.
The inquiring mind needed to know.
Yep,
and-
absolutely.
and I saw the way that they were digging on the hillside, and I figured it was for a reservoir in the future,
Yes.
but I wanted to know.
Yep, absolutely.
Those
Absolutely.
trucks are big.
They are big trucks.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry? I have one or two more slides, but I wanted to handle the recycling while we had the slide up there, but go ahead.
One more
I was
thing.
going to say, right?
Thank you. About the pharmaceutical waste. A year or two ago, my husband had some controlled substance, and the flyer from Wegmans says, dispose of this by throwing it down the toilet, okay? And it was right in the flyer. I didn't save it, he was ill, and I didn't, but Wegmans needs to know that that can't be done.
Yeah, I don't even know Wegmans had a flyer. The only flyer
For
Wegmans.
controlled substance, they always have flyers.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Luckily, I haven't had taken.
You're lucky. Yes.
Yeah, it might still be. I mean, a lot of the pharmacies, we went out to we got a state grant to put literature in every pharmacy, which I drove around and put literature in every pharmacy with a magnet on how to handle it, and the pharmacists were ecstatic to have him because there was a lot of misinformation. The state health department had a way that they wanted it done as far as putting it down the toilet, and likewise, but this is certainly the best way to do it currently.
Okay, so the last slide is our mill seat, or second to the last slide, I guess, is our mill seat landfill. And we are working through the seeker process right now. And we are preparing an environmental impact statement about expanding the landfill. The existing footprint is sort of to the top, and the infrastructure of that slide is 95 acres. It will be filled around 2018 or so, maybe a little bit longer. And its design capacity is 1,900 tons per day. And the county built the initial cells and operated it for about 10 years. And since that time, we've entered into a long-term lease with Waste Management. And they are also the ones who are paying for the expansion of the landfill, but the county is involved with this because the permit of the landfill is in the county's name. The proposal is the area to the bottom of the slide there is 118 acres, and there is a 13-acre wetland in that area, which we are proposing to mitigate to the south down at the bottom of the slide. It'll be around, the actual mitigation part will be around 55 acres, but it'll actually be much larger than that. There's only 32 landfills in New York State, and this is a very large project. We expect it to take at least a couple years to get through this, and we hope to be done by 2018. The proposal, though, is to keep the design capacity the same at 1,945 tons per day, and also the height of the landfill the same. So we aren't changing anything with that. Along with the mill seat landfill, We currently ship our biosolids from our 2 wastewater treatment plants. We generate around 100,000 tons of that per year. And even though it goes through centrifuges to spin out the water, there's still some moisture in there that promotes, fills the cells of the landfill or in between the waste. And it does accelerate the methane generation. Doesn't really create any more, it just accelerates it. And what we are hoping to see is that the landfill settles out sooner as a result, to pick up a little bit of capacity, and also to be able to put the final closure, which will be an HDPE cap on top of it. We opened up in 2006 our gas-to-energy plant. We started with 6 engines. Within a couple years after that, we added 2 more engines. This is very similar here on the east side at the High Acres landfill in Parrington. It's the same concept. You generate methane. The methane is used to turn the turbines to generate electricity. We are currently working, that's maybe on the next slide. So these are the future programs. The first one, another acronym, that's all we live by in this business. It's our local solid waste management plan. We prepared one about over 20 years ago, and we have a requirement that we need to update it. And this update is really going to say, is going to talk about what we've done, what we can do more within the system that we have and the facilities that we have to enhance these programs. And really, it's the one thing that we hope to do is just to learn more about what's going on. As much as we would like to think that the solid waste business is the same everywhere, I have yet to find another program that's similar to ours. Everyone is unique in its own way. And what we really hope to do in this plan is to take an inventory of the things that are happening here in Monroe County, to have a document that will be available online for people, businesses, institutions to share, and hopefully to benefit, to share information and to benefit from one another. We hope to be having a draft of that out the 4th quarter of this year, so that's something that's going to be happening in the very near future. Single stream recycling, we talked about that in our education and outreach, in conveying to people what the right thing to do is. The third bullet, landfill gas energy facility number 2. We've been working on this for a couple years, and we're working with the state who administers the contract administers the program for the EPA, and we're working through some things with them, and it's in a parallel effort with our landfill expansion. Our eco park, we're currently, with the 3-year anniversary, we're looking at how we can better serve people. One of the things that we found out was with those regular hours, quite often where we don't take the household hazardous waste and the pharmaceuticals, people get confused because there's a lot of information out there how we can maybe enhance the services that we have. Pursue grants, anything that we could do to help pay for additional equipment like our windrow turner, balers, and things like that. We're always looking at those opportunities. The landfill gas plant had a DOE grant that was involved with getting those engines. And then the last initiative I already talked about was the mill seat landfill and the expansion of that beyond 2018. So with that, questions?
Yeah, the Mill Seat landfill, is that north of Black Creek and east of the Virgin Swamp?
It's east of the Virgin Swamp, and it would be south of Black Creek.
Oh, south, okay. Thank
Yeah.
Isn't there a landfill in Parrington? Or?
Yes, that's waste management that's privately owned.
What happens to recyclables from non-waste management and non-City of Rochester customers? There are several other haulers besides Waste Management.
That's one of the things we hope to find out more
We don't know?
information on solid waste.
We don't even know what happens
Well, there are some transfer stations in Monroe County, one being J.C. Fibers on Mount Reed, and those materials probably go to Casella's facility in Ontario County. Some of the private haulers take the paper and they recycle the paper themselves, and then the containers, they probably go to Ontario County to Casella's facility. Oh, and also, there may be some also, excuse me, there may be some also going to Modern Recycling in Buffalo. But those are the two that keep coming up and surfacing that we're aware of. To haul it much farther than that, I would be surprised.
Back to bottle caps. Can you leave the caps on the pharmaceutical bottles? Because I always clean them and then take the caps off.
Yeah, there's really no need to even clean the pharmaceutical bottles. If you're bringing them to the eco park, you can't put them in your recycling bin.
No, I know that.
So if you're bringing them to the eco park, you don't have to clean them out at all.
Okay, and bottle caps on returnable bottles, can they go on those? Because I always take everything off.
The bottle caps from returnable bottles, you can put them in the recycling bin, but like I said, they're small and the machinery has a harder time with them.
Does it help to bag them, or is that more of a problem?
Nope, we don't want any bags in the recycling bin, plastic bags. The only bag we would want would be a paper bag if you have to contain shredded paper.
I know a while back, and I'm not sure of the policy now, but I think we were supposed to separate like cardboard and paper from cans as far as your recycling. But it seems like they all just kind of get thrown in the same place.
And that's what we want right now. With this new program with single stream, we want it all mixed together. It's better if it's, for the equipment, it's better. A bulky plastic bag, I mean a bulky paper bag, it's better that, if you saw this process, the cans and
I missed the
everything
beginning, I'm sorry.
is all, it's better now. With the single stream recycling, we want everything mixed together.
Okay.
And the hauler, and even if you separate it, there's no more dividers inside the recycling trucks. It's all just thrown in
Well,
there.
that's what okay, that answers that question. And this is, you know, I mean, this happens in a lot of fields. But, you know, we're obviously trying to be very environmentally conscious, and we have capitalism and competitive, but to see like 3 huge garbage trucks of different companies go around the same circle on the same street, when you think of the equipment, the gas, the people involved, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but boy,
What we do, you know, we're covering the facilities. The one thing the county does not do is collect garbage. And as I said, there's a lot of programs that are out there that are different. I hope I'm okay with saying this. The majority here in Monroe County are subscription basis. Now that being said, in the town of Brighton, there's areas in Brighton where the neighborhoods have actually petitioned, I hope that's the right word, for the town to set up a garbage district.
meaning?
So that they eliminate 3 different trucks coming down the street. Then you only have one choice, and that's whoever, you know, the low bid is.
Okay. So if you have, say, Lilac next to you in your waste management, and I should be more cognizant of this, but is Lilac doing recycling and garbage and debris by themselves, or is Monroe County doing all of the, well, same company must be
No,
doing
we're not
recycling
collecting
boxes.
any of that. We're not collecting any of that.
Yeah, Monroe County, we're not in the collecting business.
We
We
receive-
have the facilities where the collectors bring the materials to, but we aren't out there doing any collection.
We're sorting it.
Does anybody know the answer to that question?
Lilac does not recycle their brush and garden waste and so forth.
But they're picking it up, correct? It's
They
not,
pick it up, but it goes in the garbage, and they do recycle supposedly.
It comes down to it being your choice of who you wish to do business with. It ends up becoming your homework as to whose practices you want to support, so.
right, and not, yeah, okay. Yeah, that too, in addition to having three people
Right.
doing the same routes.
Yep.
Three companies. It's just
Here.
so wasteful.
I was just going to say, could you speak to aerobic and anaerobic, the way solid waste is taken care of? And then also, the second part of the question is any future requirements or down the road to actually start doing composting?
Okay, I think I'm probably not going to answer your first question because I'll probably put my foot in my mouth. There are, with anaerobic digesters, okay, the industry is starting to see those. But as it is with many aspects of garbage, the key is the source separation. What begins at the source, whether it's the household. We learned from our resource recovery facility that if you think you're going to put it all together, it's not easy to take it all back out. It's maybe separating it. Maybe separating you can do it. But in that resource recovery facility, one of the things that we learned was just the season of the year. In January, that place worked very nicely because there wasn't any grass clippings, there wasn't moisture, it was nice and dry, it was easy to separate. But as far as the anaerobic digestion, we're starting to see more and more of that in the industry, because in wastewater treatment plants, for example, because of the methane generation, and very similar to what this slide, what we're doing at our gas plant right now. But we're seeing a lot of that in Europe, and I think in time we're going to start seeing more of that. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
About food composting.
Oh. Well, yard waste is another part of our local solid waste plan we want to get a better handle on, is just to understand what's going on, because we have equipment like that windrow turner that we have a chipper that we're able to use through our shared equipment services, that we can, if there's stockpiles in areas, that we can benefit other towns. So on the yard waste, that's pretty easy to do. I mean, we know how to do that. But as far as the food waste, there's some things that are beginning to happen at the University of Rochester. They're doing an RIT. Both of them are collecting food waste separately. You mentioned High Acres Landfill. They take the food waste. They have an area that they're taking the food waste, putting it in windrows with leaves, and turning that and making a compost with it. There's a company that you might have heard of in the city, Community Compost, that is collecting it. And I only know what I've seen on the news about that, and I understand they have a new outlet for that now. But I hope that we're going through our update of our plan, that some of these things through institutions and larger facilities where you have a lot of mass, that will make this viable versus going around individually. But it'll take some time, but it'll come in time.
A comment that you made earlier triggered a thought in my head. We've been doing a bit of this at home just now, and I thought we were supposed to put shredded material, when we shred papers, into clear plastic bags. But you mentioned something about shredded stuff should go into paper bags.
Yep, that's one of the changes, is that we're asking for paper bags. You can either bring it to us at the Eco Park and we can handle it separately, or you can put it in a brown paper bag. It's just the plastic bags get around the sprockets and gum up the machinery on the new machinery we just installed, so it becomes an operational problem, so.
So, but if we have it all in plastic bags, we can still bring it to the Echo Park and then you can take care of it from there?
Correct.
Okay.
I should probably know this, but then that's why I'm here to find out. Are you, at the moment before these landfills mature, are you able to utilize these landfills for what you want right now, such as the energy or whatever you're going to be using it for, hopefully? Or can you do it now, or do you have to wait until it matures and you're not piling more into it?
Oh, no, we're doing it now. The gas that, the gas, this gas plant was actually built in 2006. Now, the landfill opened in 1993, and I'm sorry, I don't remember when our first flare was there. It was pretty small, but the flares kept growing every couple years until the point that it economically made this possible.
Okay, so I see where it says to replace more than 130,000 barrels of oil and power 6,000 homes. For how long to power 6,000?
A long time.
Okay.
And when I say a long time, when I started with the county in 1983, the Monroe Livingston County down in Caledonia was still open. I think it closed in 1985, and there's still 2 of these gas engines that are still running there today.
So the businesses that I am presently using, let's say, to fuel my home and heat it and what have you, you would sell it to them so it would come through the business I'm using, because I certainly don't go straight to you to get this power.
Okay, I'm going to describe what happens with this, okay? With electricity that comes out of this facility, we have lines that go to Churchville where it goes into the grid, all right? On paper and via computers, this is actually sold in Massachusetts because there are renewable energy credits in Massachusetts. So when you say you're buying green energy, that's what that means. In reality, this electricity never leaves Churchville, probably, or the Riga, you know, the western part of New York. The electrons never leave there, but the transaction is actually in Massachusetts because it's it's worth 9.5 cents a kilowatt hour in Massachusetts, and that varies too from year to year. There's been highs and there's lows. Today it's pretty good.
Basically, what you're saying is the electricity is traded
Yes.
on a commodities market. Is that correct?
Well, we have the contracts that we have. It's actually through Waste Management. It's through Constellation Energy.
Where you're talking about opening a second facility,
Yes.
is that going to be in the same location?
Yes.
Adding more?
Just adjacent to this, in the same area of this building.
This one is High Acres, is High Acres over here?
Yes, in Parrington.
So the other one is going to be on the other side in Wayne County?
Oh, no, no. This is Monroe County, town of Riga,
Oh, okay,
at the Mill Seat landfill.
thank you.
Okay, we're going to take maybe just about a 2 or 3 minute break if you want to stretch your legs. We'll give Russ and Pat, and I would just ask maybe give them a round of applause for everything that they do in the county. And we'll give them an opportunity to turn off their computer, and we'll get Deb up for the next part of the program.
It's actually Greenovation, and we kind of call it Greeno for short. So when I first started there as their board president, I did some research because I wanted to. It's a little bit difficult to explain what we actually do there. So I looked around, and we've got the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. And then I'd heard about the 5 R's. So I said, let me kind of research that. And so here's what I actually found, because no one seems to agree what the 5 R's. Respect, rethink, restore, replenish, repair, rebuy, refuse, reform, renew, rot, and rebuild, in addition to the reduce, reuse, recycle. So there was a total of 14 R's. And so there was no consensus. But then I came across the green cycles, and I fell in love. So the R is, it's recycling, free cycling, pre-cycling, downcycling, and upcycling. So these are some definitions that I actually just took from Wikipedia. So just to better explain the cycles. So recycling is a process of to change waste materials into new products, to prevent waste of potentially useful materials, reduce the consumption of fresh raw materials, reduce energy usage, reduce air pollution from incineration and water pollution from landfilling, by reducing the need for conventional waste disposal and lower greenhouse gas emissions. Recyclable materials include many kinds of glass, paper, metal, plastics, textiles, and electronics. Composting or other use of biodegradable waste, such as food or garden waste, is also considered recycling. Materials to be recycled are either brought to a collection center, for example, the Eco Park, or picked up at curbside by your waste haulers and sorted, cleaned, and reprocessed into new materials bound for manufacturing. In the strictest sense, recycling of a material could produce a new supply of the same material. So for example, used office paper can be converted into new office paper, or used formed polystyrene into new polystyrene. However, it is awful difficult or too expensive compared to producing the same product from raw materials or other sources. So recycling of many products or materials involves the reuse of producing different materials, example, paperboard instead. Another form of recycling is the salvage of certain materials from complex products, and either due to their intrinsic value, for example, lead from car batteries or gold from computers, or due to their hazardous nature, removal and reuse of mercury in various items. Critics dispute the net economic and environmental benefits of recycling over its cost, and suggest that proponents of recycling often make matters worse and suffer from confirmation. Specifically, critics argue that the costs and energy used in collection and transportation detract from and outweigh the cost and energy saved in the production process. Also, that the jobs produced by the recycling industry can be poor trade for the jobs lost in logging and mining and industries associated with virgin production. And materials such as paper pulp can be recycled a few times before the material degradation prevents future recycling. Proponents of recycling dispute these claims, and the validity of arguments from both sides leads to the enduring controversy. The second part is free cycling, which is also called green gifting. It's an act of giving away an unwanted item or otherwise used to, instead of the disposal in landfill. The third part is e-cycling, which is electronics recycling. It's the reuse of components or other electronic devices. It includes both finding another use for the materials, such as donation to charities, and having systems dismantled in a manner that allow for the safe extraction of the materials for reuse in other products. Obsolete computers or electronics are valuable sources for secondary raw materials, if treated properly. If not, they could be a source of toxins and carcinogens. Rapid technology change, low initial cost, and planned obsolescence have resulted in the fast-growing surplus of computers and other electronic components around the globe. So under that, there's several different things. There's a take-back aspect that you can talk to the different companies or research on them if once you buy a new product that they will take it back. Exchange. Some companies will take back electronics, refurbish them, and then resell them. And then there's, the scrapping and recycling. So part of what's happened there is there's a lot of companies that are now taking in electronics and dismantling them to make other, to pull out the valuable materials. And then donations to not-for-profits. The next one is pre-cycling. And that's a practice of reducing waste by attempting to avoid bringing items which will generate waste into your home or business. Downcycling is the process of converting waste materials or useless products into new materials or products of lesser quality and reduced functionality. Downcycling aims to prevent wasting potential useful materials, reduce consumption of raw materials, energy usage, air pollution, and water pollution. The goals are to lower greenhouse gas emissions through the reuse of tainted toxic chemicals for other purposes can have the opposite effect as compared to virgin production, is upcycling. And you may heard it as some other names, creative reuse or repurposing. So this is the process of converting waste materials or useless products into new materials or products of better quality or for better environmental value. Okay. The concept was incorporated into a book, in this 2002 book, Cradle to Cradle, Remaking the Way We Make Things. They state that the goal of upcycling is to prevent wasting potentially useful materials by making use of existing ones. This reduces the consumption of new raw materials when creating new products. Reducing the use of new raw materials can result in the reduction of energy usage, air pollution, water pollution, and greenhouse gases. Upcycling is actually the opposite of downcycling, which is the other half of the recycling process. Downcycling involves converting materials and products into new materials of lesser quality, and most recycling involves converting or extracting useful materials from a product and creating a different product or material. So what I'm going to talk about is evolution of an environmentalist, which is me. These are some of the steps that I've taken in my life that have led me to Rochester Greenovation, or as we lovingly call this store, Greeno, and brought me to this discussion tonight about upcycling and to give you some ideas of how to incorporate this into your own lives. So, I was an environmentalist long before I became aware of Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, which was published in September 1962. I read it in 1990, and is credited for initially bringing environmental concerns to the American public. In 1986, the International Coastal Cleanup started. I don't think I was at the first one, but I probably wasn't very far behind and pretty much have gone to that every year. And as far as work, in 1995, I joined Xerox and I worked on a global cost down team as a buyer. And I worked with an engineering group where we resourced, redesigned, renegotiated, and remanufactured components and assemblies from the concept to the field. And so in 2013, I joined Rochester Greenovation as the board president and the initiator of our Sustainable Saturdays. So here's what Greenovation was started in 2011. And our mission is to strengthen local communities through environmentally conscious initiatives, waste diversion, and education. We seek to reduce waste and associated environmental and economic costs by providing and promoting alternatives for reusable materials. We strive to accomplish these goals by educating the public about the value of reusable materials, teaching people how to transform these recycled goods for practical and creative applications through partnerships with other organizations. We are the first not-for-profit, all-volunteer reuse and recycling center, featuring a retail market, class space, an art gallery, artist studios, and a community stage. And I've got some brochures and some cards here. I'm going to pass these around and take any of them. We take in donations to keep them out of the landfill and to resell them. We have a free cycle area. We donate a lot of items to various other not-for-profit organizations. We work with the House of Mercy, Sojourner House, and Bethany House. We also work with LDA, which is a life and learning service to provide volunteer opportunities for individuals with learning disabilities. We sell upcycled items that artists have made from items they have either picked up in the trash or been donated at Greeno. We have several volunteers who test electronics, and we can either resell them if they work, or we disassemble them for scrap. And we partner with Sun King to recycle electronics. So I'm going to start passing out some of the upcycled goods here. So this is a cake plate. Oh. So Shay did this, and it's a cake plate. So it's glued together from 2 pieces of glass to make it into something new. This is an object from another one of our artists, Roxanne, and she's taken an old bottle and rewound some twine on it and added some crazy costume jewelry. This is one of the objects that Scott has made. It's an old doorknob, and he's put some cup hooks on it for your keys. And then on the back, put a little hook to hang this on the wall. And this is another object by Roxanne. She had an old pair of motorcycle boots that she just absolutely loved and didn't want to kind of throw them away, so she cut off the leather and, you know, put it on a little jar to put your little knickknacks in it. And this is from Evelyn, and she's taken an old transformer and put some wire around it with a and, you know, you could use it for a recipe holder, a card holder at a wedding with people's names on it. Chris did this, and she took a shelf and repainted it and, you know, put a little flower on it just to dress it up a little bit more. The last thing is one of my favorites. Evelyn has taken old buttons from her mom's house and wound some wire on it and made some flowers out of them. Pretty interesting. So we actually, you know, have some space at our facility for artists to rent, and then we give them also a discounted price on different product that we did get donated in. And, you know, it helps them out, and it upcycles things. I'm not going to pass this one around, but this is there was actually another side to this, but a mirror off a dresser that she, the dresser was, you know, beyond repair, but the mirrors were okay. Acceptable materials that we take in, electronics, computers, cartridges, ink cartridges, any building materials, bricks, lumber, household parts and windows, flooring, drywall that's been unpainted, furniture, tools, toilets, tubs, sinks, appliances, housewares, pots, pans, dishes, silverware, arts and craft items, and clothing. Unacceptable items are recalled baby goods, hazardous chemicals, that's what the eco park is for, any items containing lead or asbestos, or anything that doesn't meet current safety standards. I know we got in like some helmets, and I tried to take them to, I think it was Play It Again, Sam, and they wouldn't take them. So unfortunately, we took them to the eco park. So we have a great group of vendors and artists who offer everything from refinished furniture to custom decor, handmade textiles, art, upcycled treasures, garden accessories, musical instruments, and so much more. Sustainability is a relationship and a balance between social and economic development and environmental protection. Every year, thousands of tons of materials, furnitures, et cetera, are destroyed, set out to the curb, or otherwise discarded. What if, instead of a landfill or incineration, you could put these materials into the hands of some of them who could use them? And that's what Greenovation is for. I spoke with 3 of our artists and asked them, you know, why they got into upcycling artwork. And Lori from Vintage Virgo said she doesn't want to buy things from foreign countries with all the hidden costs such as transportation, pollution, and low quality. She'd rather buy American goods that are made from natural materials and have better quality craftsmanship. And then she'll add her unique touch to rebreathe life into them. Scott from Second Nature, who did this, he likes to express his creative side where there are no rules. He likes to repurpose items and keep them out of the landfill. The other item that's going around is the, sorry, I hope there's no golfers in here, but he likes to take golf clubs, and he made a bottle opener. He also takes, I couldn't find any of them there, but he takes and puts them on wood with the golf heads and, you know, makes like a coat hook. And then Evelyn from Evie's Eccentric likes to take old buttons, and which we sent those around, and which were her mom's, and she creates them into flowers. And she also likes to take old glass and makes things to give them a new purpose. And that was the transformer, which you know, you could. She also had some where you, at a wedding, you could put people's names on them for who sits at whatever table. So, weaving into all of this is the understanding of the earth is a closed, self-regulating system, which makes life possible. And the relationship and interactions of all living beings, including humans, animals, and plants, with the land, air, and water. To make life sustainable, there are renewable and non-renewable resources. There's also that gray area in between there, when a resource needs to be evaluated to determine if it is profitable or not profitable to reuse and or becomes a hazardous waste. For example, when recycling paper becomes paper again, it saves trees. But with upcycling, it takes recycling to that next level. I'm 110% in favor of upcycling. It is each of our responsibilities to make daily decisions to buy products that are sustainable and live a sustainable lifestyle that includes reduce, reuse, or recycle, and now incorporates upcycling. My motto is, I can't change the world, but I can make a difference. My guiding light is, I do what I can and I leave the rest up to the universe. There are always numerous options to any issue, and there is never one perfect solution. I hope from my definitions I've appealed to your logical side, and by my visuals I've appealed to your creative side. I hope I have presented here helps get you to rethink and re-see trash in a new light and understand how each of our decisions affects the sustainability of life. I hope you'll stop in at Greenovation and discover one person's trash that has become another person's treasures. I hope I have inspired you to upcycle yourself or at least buy an upcycled treasure. I hope many of the suggestions I have made you're already doing and or will consider doing. Thank you. Okay, so let's find the jewelry and see if we can figure out.
What jewelry?
And the flowers, so those are going to be the door prizes. So if you can pick one of these.
Deb, could you remind people where Greenovation is?
Oh,
so they
sure.
can visit it?
It's 1199 East Main Street. So it's between Goodman and Culver. It's a big white building. It used to be the Vietnam Vets building. Right, diagonally across from RTS. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Just wanted everyone here to.
Okay, can anybody figure out what this is? Typewriter key, yep. I'd actually got this at a store called Simply New York.
What is it?
It's a typewriter key. So. Okay, all right. So, okay. This one, did anybody figure out what it is? It's a solar panel. Solar panel. I actually have matching earrings too, but I didn't bring it in. So, I can recharge my phone. Okay, the last one. Huh? Yep. It's a zipper. It's a zipper. So it snakes around, and then they put some beads on it. And this also came from Simply New York, which is out near Rundecourt. It's on Culver near, on the way to the lake, Lakeshore Boulevard. The mustard color building. They had some really cool stuff there. Everything in there is actually made in New York. So, we'll open it up for questions.
The great thing about upcycling, that I think that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
that it creates another job.
Right.
It's capitalism working. It's sort of like Monroe County had people going around picking up all the scrap metal. Well, now you got a bunch of people driving around in their pickup trucks loading the scrap metal in their back.
Right.
And it may not be the right thing, but it takes that work away from the Monroe County trash haulers or Penfield or wherever. And I just wanted to address the lady back there with a green scarf. She mentioned about 3 waste trucks going around through her neighborhood. And yes, it is a little bit of a problem now and then, I suppose, but it's capitalism and it should work. Because that's what makes it.
There's a lot of there's a lot of redundancy in a lot of different companies, and
But-
that's just an example of one of them, but.
But if you
I
go
mean,
for just having one person do the trash, the price is
Oh,
probably
I
going to end up
understand.
going up. And it's
Is
just
the woman from Brighton here? I didn't mean to interrupt you. She said her neighborhood, they signed a petition, and then the companies gave us the lowest bid, and the ones with the lowest bid got the job, and it's taken right out of their taxes.
Yes.
So, I
Bigger-
mean, I understand, I mean, I agree with capitalism.
That's bigger government, and you get what
Yeah,
you
I know,
get.
I know, it is a problem. Yeah, I know, it's a problem, but it's still bothers me.
Well, it's like I say, with anything, there's pluses and minuses. There is no perfect solution to anything, you know? But, I mean, one company, you know, helps reduce the emissions around, so, you know, right.
Then hopefully that does put
Right.
some control on it,
Right.
but you're right. You're right.
But it's also, I mean, again, being a buyer, it's, you know, the price of something kind of, you know, it comes down as you got more people. You as an individual doing something, I mean, that's why Fairport Electric has better rates, because the whole community government, you know, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but they got together and as opposed to just as individuals.
I mentioned this before. I have a hide-a-bed that the springs aren't working quite right, and I would like to have somebody use it, but it needs to be repaired a little bit. Now, what would you suggest? Do I call Waste Management and let them take it away, or what?
Well, if you want to get to me afterwards, I'll get your name and phone number, and I'll see if someone at Greenovation has that ability to recycle it, or, you know, we could kind of research it for you.
I've been down there. It's a big place. It's full of all kinds of interesting things. It's a nice, and it's a nice place to come down. I think everybody would find something or get ideas. I encourage you to go down. It's very easily located. It'll give you the idea of, especially we have a lot of things around the house. Maybe we don't want to take it. There are so many nonprofit donation places. Second Thought on East Rochester Piano Works. She told me any extra clothing they don't have, they recycle it into certain materials, and they are also support 6 organizations. So a lot of your secondhand stores, at like the VOA at 5 Mile Line, they support a variety of donation places, and they really reuse and resell everything. And Deb is very dedicated wherever we go. She's handing out her card and she's talking up recycling. So you don't have to wait for companies and you don't have to wait for the government. You can be as enthusiastic as she is and teach people what you know. I'm sure a lot of you here know a lot more than I do, and you could teach other people or make suggestions on your own. And one of them, I think, is less. A lot of us I see here are from the generation where we had to separate our garbage, and our parents didn't throw away anything because they were brought up from the, the Depression. My family, we tried to reuse everything that we had, and we could bring that thought process back to the new generation by teaching them and showing them how we do that. To me, I think that's important. I save shoe boxes and I always find a use for somebody who needs some kind of shoe box. I can't throw them out. I feel really bad. So I save them, and then when people say they need something, I got them right there for them.
And this is another thing that one of our artists did with clothes. You know, she made it into a bag, you know, stitched up the bottom. And I don't sew, but I mean, it looks pretty simple, you know. And again, added a few little baubles on it, and you know, made it into yeah. Right. Are there any other questions, comments?